Right now, in August 2026, there are three money mistakes you're probably making that are quietly destroying your net worth, and you don't even know it. I'm talking about decisions that look smart on the surface, but are actually costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next decade. The scary part? Most people don't figure this out until it's too late. So stick around because I'm about to show you exactly what's killing your wealth and how to fix it starting today. Let's jump straight in because time literally is money, and we're running out of it. Okay, so here's the first insane mistake, and this one is especially brutal right now in 2026. You're playing it too safe while the market is still positioned to grow. Now, I know what you're thinking. The bond market is rebounding, treasury yields are climbing back up, and the financial news is saying we should be cautious. You're hearing headlines about sell offs, and it feels like maybe you should just keep your money in cash or bonds and wait for things to settle down. But here's what's actually happening. The S&P 500 is up 1.9% just this month. Bitcoin is up 16.1% since the start of August. Gold is up 10.8%. Meanwhile, if you're sitting in a money market fund earning around 4.5% to 5%, you're actually losing ground to inflation and missing out on real wealth building. The inflation number that's got Fed officials nervous right now means your purchasing power is eroding faster than that safe savings account is growing. Let me give you a real example. Say you're 35 years old and you have $50,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account earning 5% annually. Over the next 30 years until retirement, that grows to about $215,000. Sounds decent, right? Wrong. Now look at someone who puts that same $50,000 into a diversified portfolio of index funds, something like a 70-30 split between the S&P 500 and bonds. Historically, that portfolio returns around 8 to 9% annually on average. Over 30 years, that $50,000 becomes roughly $600,000 to $700,000. We're talking about a difference of nearly $500,000, and the only difference is where you put the money. The fear is real, though, I get it. You're seeing headlines about yield rebounds and sell-offs, and it feels risky. But here's the truth that separates wealthy people from everyone else. They understand that the risk of doing nothing is bigger than the risk of investing. You don't have to go all in on individual stocks or speculative crypto. You don't have to time the market. You just need to get into the market, stay consistent, and let compound growth work while you sleep. For most people, this means opening a brokerage account. Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard are still the gold standards in 2026. And setting up automatic monthly investments into a total stock market index fund or a target date fund. Set it and forget it. The fact that markets had some volatility this month doesn't change the 30-year trajectory. And that's what matters for your net worth. Now let's talk about mistake number 2, and this one might hit different because it looks like you're actually winning. You've heard that high-yield savings accounts are amazing, and you've moved your emergency fund and extra cash into one earning 4.5% to 5% interest. Your friends are bragging about how much they're earning in savings. You feel smart. But here's the brutal truth. You're treating your high-yield savings account like it's the finish line when it's actually just the starting line. A high-yield savings account is a tool, not a strategy. It's perfect for an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting there so you don't have to panic when your car breaks down or you lose a job. But if you have money beyond that emergency fund, sitting in savings earning 5%, you're committing a wealth-killing sin. You're optimizing for safety when you should be optimizing for growth. Here's the math that makes this real. A couple in their 30s with a combined household income of $120,000 might have $15,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account beyond their emergency fund. They tell themselves, it's safe and I'm getting good returns. Over 30 years, that $15,000 grows to about $65,000 in a savings account. But that same money in a diversified portfolio? It becomes $150,000 to $200,000. That's not a minor difference. That's generational wealth you're leaving on the table. The other thing people don't talk about is inflation. Your high-yield savings account is earning 5%, but inflation is running hot right now in August 2026, hot enough that the Fed is still worried about it. If inflation is even 3% annually, you're only getting 2% real return. You're barely treading water. Meanwhile, the stock market historically returns 7 to 10% annually, which beats inflation substantially. So, what should you do? Keep your emergency fund in that high yield savings account. Keep 12 months of expenses there if you're self employed or in an unstable industry. But anything beyond that emergency fund should be working harder for you. This is where things like index funds, ETFs, and target date retirement funds come in. These are not sexy, they're not exciting, but they work. Vanguard's Total Stock Market ETF, ticker VTI, or the S&P 500 ETF, ticker VOO, are genuinely low-cost ways to get into the market with almost zero effort. The key insight here is this: high-yield savings make sense for money you might need access to quickly. Everything else should be invested for growth. Now, let's hit the third mistake, and this one is probably the most insidious because it's completely invisible until you're 55 years old and panicking. You're ignoring tax-advantaged accounts while you're young, and it's one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Let me set this up. You're in your 20s or 30s. Your employer offers a 401k match. Let's say they match 4% of your salary. You either skip it entirely because you don't understand it, or you contribute just enough to get the match and think you're done. Meanwhile, you have another $5,000 or $6,000 a year that you could be putting into a Roth IRA, and you're just not doing it. You're investing that money in a regular taxable brokerage account, or you're not investing it at all. Here's why this matters so much. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece recently on how bumper 401ks are becoming a tax problem. And it's because high earners are finally starting to max these things out. But the real issue is the opposite problem. Most people aren't using them at all. In 2026, you can contribute up to $24,000 to a 401k annually. And if you're 50 or older, you can add another $8,000 as a catch-up contribution. For a Roth IRA, it's $7,500 annually, or $9,000 if you're 50 plus. Let's run the numbers on what ignoring this costs you. Say you're 30 years old, earning $70,000 a year. Your company matches 4% of salary, which is $2,800 per year. If you just take the match and nothing more, and you invest it consistently until age 65, that's 35 years of growth. At an average 7% annual return, that $2,800 per year becomes roughly $550,000. That's solid. But now say you also maximize a Roth IRA with $7,500 per year. That's an additional $2.1 million by retirement. Together, you're looking at $2.65 million just from tax-advantaged accounts. Now compare that to someone who contributed nothing and invested $2,300 per year in a regular taxable brokerage account. They'd have about $2 million, but here's the killer. They're going to owe capital gains taxes on that entire growth every single year. They'll pay around 15–20% in federal taxes on those gains, plus state taxes in many states. The person with the tax-advantaged accounts? They pay nothing until they withdraw in retirement, and the Roth IRA? They pay nothing ever, because those withdrawals are completely tax-free. The time value advantage of being young is insane. If you're 25 right now, you have 40 years for that money to compound. If you're 35, you have 30 years. If you're 45, you have 20 years. The difference between starting at 25 and starting at 35 is literally millions of dollars. And yet, so many people skip this because they think they don't have enough money, or they don't understand how it works, or they're intimidated by the setup. Here's what to do today. First, if your employer offers a 401k, contribute enough to get the full match. That's free money, full stop. Second, if you have any income at all and you're under the income limits for a Roth IRA, open one immediately. Fidelity, Schwab, and Vanguard all let you open a Roth IRA in about 15 minutes online. Third, if you're self-employed or have side hustle income, look into a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. You can contribute way more than the standard limits, and these are insanely powerful wealth-building tools that most entrepreneurs aren't using enough. The tragic part is that these accounts are sitting there, legally available to everyone, designed specifically to help you build wealth tax efficiently, and most people just ignore them. It's like leaving free money on the ground every single day. So let me tie this all together. 3 mistakes are killing your net worth right now. 1. You're playing it too safe while the market is still positioned to grow. You're letting fear override math. 2. You're treating high-yield savings like your final destination instead of your starting line. You're optimizing for safety instead of growth. And 3. You're ignoring the most powerful wealth-building tools legally available to you. You're leaving millions of dollars on the table through tax-advantaged accounts. The good news is that all three of these are fixable starting right now today in August 2026. You don't need to be rich. You don't need a financial advisor telling you what to do. You just need to understand how money actually works and then take action. Here's what I want you to do. If you don't have a diversified investment portfolio, open a brokerage account this week and set up automatic monthly investments into a low-cost index fund. If you're not maxing out your tax-advantaged accounts, figure out how much you can contribute this year and start next month. And if you have more than 6 months of expenses sitting in a savings account, move everything beyond your emergency fund into investments, where it can actually work for you. These aren't complicated moves. They're not sexy. They won't make you rich overnight. But they're the exact moves that separate people who build real wealth from people who stay broke, no matter how much they earn. If this video helped you see something you've been missing about your money, please hit that subscribe button, because we release financial advice like this every single week. Comment below and let me know which of these 3 mistakes you've been making. I read every comment, and I want to know what's been holding you back. And if you have friends or family who are making these mistakes, share this video with them. Seriously, you could be saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars just by sharing what you've learned here today. Thanks for watching Money Mindset TV. Let's build that net worth together.